He is a pioneer. He is a sower. He believes in spreading the gospel towards the ends of the earth until Christ comes. Thomas Wang was born in 1925 in Beijing, China. He is a third-generation Christian.
I was led to God by the great evangelist Dr. Zhang Song Shangjie. At that time, I was only 11 years old in Beijing, China. He came to our city and had great evangelistic revival meetings. Although I was born in a Christian family, but I was never a Christian, a real Christian. But it was in Zhang Song's meeting I actually really accepted Jesus Christ as my Savior. In my early years, almost my whole family went to the church of Pastor Wang in Beijing. My mother served as a deaconess in his church. Therefore, our two families are rather close to each other. In the year of 1953, I finally gave myself up. I no longer tried to run away from God. I began to serve Him full-time in the church.
In 1957, he became an itinerant missionary in Europe. And it was during this time that he received a calling from God.
And one afternoon in Sweden, I was alone in a forest, praying and preparing for my message for that evening. And all of a sudden, I heard a voice saying to me, "You should be zealous for your countrymen, for your own people." I looked around, but I saw nobody. That it was the Lord who spoke to my heart. And from that time on, I feel the call of God to minister to the Chinese people in China and overseas.
He came to the United States in 1959 to continue his seminary training. After graduation, he began to put his vision into action and started the Chinese Christian Mission, CCM.
We began with a prayer meeting. At that time, Chinese students began to come to America to study more and more. We began to write articles, gospel articles, and send them out to the different students and in campuses. Therefore, we began the 中信月刊, which means Chinese Christians Today.
Reverend Wang thus again received God's calling and initiated the formation of a worldwide network of all Chinese churches and began to prepare for a Chinese Congress on World Evangelism known by its acronym, the CCCOWE movement.
God provided a wonderful opportunity for us to begin this project. Because in the year of 1974, Dr. Billy Graham, inspired by God to conduct the Lausanne Committee for World Evangelization in the city of Lausanne, Switzerland.
I have come to Lausanne with great hope and expectation and great spiritual
We were
need.
touched in our hearts as Chinese delegates. We asked ourselves, if the whole world, the church leaders, can pray and work together, why should not the Chinese church's leaders do the same?
The historic Chinese Congress on World Evangelism was successfully held in 1976 in Hong Kong with more than 1,600 participants of Chinese churches from over 20 countries.
Among the Chinese churches all over the world will be held once in every 5 years.
After CCCOWE became a worldwide movement, Reverend Wang was invited in 1985 to serve as vice chairman of the Lausanne Committee for World Evangelization, LCWE. In 1987, he was invited to serve in the position of International Director of LCWE and was in charge of the planning of the Second Lausanne Congress, scheduled to take place in 1989 in Manila.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Thomas Wang, our Congress Director.
I commission this torch of the gospel be carried to all corners of the world.
After the Lausanne Congress in 1989, Reverend Wang answered God's call and initiated the AD 2000 movement. And then in 1989, he started the ministry of Great Commission Center International. For more than 10 years, he launched out in a dozen or so missions ventures in the newly opened Eastern Europe, the former Soviet Union, the Himalayas, the Balkans, the Pacific Islands, and the Persian Gulf region.
It's so important that the church will have good Christian unity. We are one in the Lord.
For the time has come for the Chinese church, together with churches of Asia, bring the gospel to the whole world and also to Jerusalem.